All right, now this part is actually using a driver or tested class. So that's why I call it driver mod. And remember, if we go back and look at some of those posts that we had before, let's say this one, the class, I think it's the class anatomy that shows the first one. Let's take a look, in which I'm asking you not to, let's see, here it is. Do not use the object bench. That was only for you to really understand how objects are handled. And that was the first part, in which it was the person mod. But we're not doing that anymore. It was mostly for educational purposes. So if you do development, you're not going to be using that, an object bench. You're going to use BlueCheck with a driver or any other IDE. I believe I also put that warning, announcement, whatever you want to call it, for the other ones too, because I don't want you to think that the way we did things earlier on is the way you're going to be doing then. So somewhere in there, you can see that I did that too. So let's go to the driver mode. And this is going to look very familiar in terms of how similar it is to what we did before. And what we did before was using the object bench, right? We had over here, we created an object of picture. What was it called? My home. And then we had, we made this, we drew it. Again, this is only something that rotate does. And then we had the person. I guess that one is remember what I did before. Let's go take a look over here. Let's create Bobby. And just for the purpose of what we're going to be doing next too. And we looked at the members or the behaviors, as we call it. Members of a class are not just the behaviors, are also the attributes and the instance fields. They're all members of a class. And for this one, we just made it visible. So this is, remember, something that I did before, I presume, because I don't think it was there originally. And we had determined that the objects of the person are always drawn on, or created, I should say, on the bottom right corner of the screen. So let's go and take a look at the instructions. And again, just like I said before, make sure you ask me questions if you are not confident about what you learn or what the answers that somebody else might have given you. So we're looking at the picture project. It's a little problem right here. Let me fix it. And I did fix something on the other one too, by the way. So I said that I'll be using the object bench. We're not going to be using the object bench. So just hold it and make that change. Not using the object bench. Yeah. So is it not using the object bench? Let's gonna create that. So what does that mean, not using an object bench? If we're not using an object bench, how do we create an object? Well, here it is. We're using a driver class or a tester class, and that's what we're gonna do. So let me just save this, make sure that this is correct now, and let's do that. And I'm using the same project that you've been learning object-oriented design with the object bench. I'm going to use exactly the same, but now we're going to change it with the driver. So I'm going to eliminate these objects because we don't want them. Actually, I'm going to remove this too. And does it remove the picture? No, it doesn't. Hold on a minute, because Zoom is putting that thing in the middle. So that means that we had to create a tester class, and I'm going to call it this. You will put the initials in there. Actually, I'm going to change that so it has the initials. Create a new class. Although I can use, yeah, no special characters. You will not like it. And I'm going to say underscore your initials, in this case, GE for me. What did I do? Oh yeah, because I put Java in there. There you go. Here's the person. Let me go over here. And the driver class, all we have is the main method. I would like you to make sure that you have good documentation over here. And I think I've been saying for a long time now that probably copying and pasting the assignment will ensure that the description of the actual documentation is complete. It has everything that it needs and is very specific about what you have to do. Since it's a driver, we're going to have public static void main. And then in here we have the argument, which was a string with an array of strings. And I call it args. You can call it anything you want, of course. But this has been pretty much standard for us, and we're happy with that. So I'm going to keep it that way. I'm going to put this on the side so I can look at what is available. Well, I'm also going to open the person because I need to know what kind of constructor I'm going to need. Well, it looks like constructor doesn't take any input. Take a look, no arguments in here. So it's going to be very easy just to create the class of person. So remember, first, start the line starts with the name of the class. What's the name of this object? We've been talking about it since the last assignment, right? Bobby. This is Bobby. And when you actually created it in the object bench, there was a keyword that creates that object. What was that keyword? Yes, new. And then we had to give it the name of the class once again, person. And if there was anything in here that you want to initialize the instance fields with, this is where it will take place. But obviously here, you can take a look that the constructor doesn't take any arguments at all. So you don't need to give anything. And let me give you a little bit of an insight of the previous assignment related to encapsulation, in which we could actually make some changes to this by overloading the constructor. And so in this overloaded constructor, we can tell where the person could start. We can say that is on the bottom left corner of the screen. That would be overloading the constructor. Now you cannot overload the constructor the way it is, because to overload the constructor, the argument list has to be different. So I don't know, I can do something not necessarily meaningful, but something that has to make sense in terms of the syntax of language. So I can say something like, let's see, what's the instance field for color? It's a string, right? So we can put something like that, say string. And I'm going to show you something that you're going to be seeing not very often, but it's going to pop up here and there. And so the instance field over here is called color. The argument, usually we like to call it something different, like a color or something, new color or something like that. I'm going to give it exactly the same name. And kind of the compiler will get kind of dizzy because it would not know if color is the local variable from the constructor right here, from the argument list, or the color from the instance field. So there's a way to make a distinction between the two of them. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say the following. I am going to say that the one on the left side, which is the one that you assign values to, is going to have it's going to be qualified with an operator that indicates this particular object. And just like I said, this particular object is a keyword, this. This is actually, maybe some of you know what a pointer is, but indicates the reference of the object itself, as opposed to color over here. It's nothing more than a value because it's a string. So over here, I'm going to put the word, the variable color. So we can say then that this color is the instance field, as opposed to chest color. I'll make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. Is the argument. There you go. Some programmers love to use the keyword this. I'm not big on that. It's good to bring it up to your attention. You might like to use it because then you say, you never there is a confusion about the fact that they both refer to the same thing, meaning this is the one that's coming in and this is the one that's going to receive that information. And now let's create this object, Bobby in this case, on the bottom left corner. So we learned the bottom left corner should be, let's say that, I don't know, let's put X is on 50. And what would Y be? Well, we can say it on 10. How's that? Everything else stays the same. And now you're going to have to start thinking a little bit more in terms of the assignment itself. Let's go back to the instructions. Let's compile this, make sure that the compiler is happy with it. Obviously it is. And again, I can show you that if you do not have anything in here, compiler is going to be screaming. There it is. So the argument list is what makes it different. And this is what it's going to allow for something called constructor overload. You can overload also methods. You can have multiple methods with the same name, with different argument lists. The compiler will be smart enough which one to call based on the argument list. All right, so far we have enough stuff over here. So we made some changes to the class person. And now, what are the instructions that I gave you to work on? So the question number 3, it says, how would you place Bobby at the bottom left corner of the window? Is there a better way to do this? All right, so let's say we create a person just like that, right? We don't tell her where to put it. So that's going to be, it's going to create, Bobby's going to be, will be at, what was the number, 300, but 280, 190. So question number 3 is, part A is, how do we place Bobby at the bottom left corner once it's created? And part B is, part B would be, can it be done easier in one instruction? Can this be done in one instruction?
Oh, wait. You left outside?
That would be the answer.
Oh.
That's what I'm looking for. And let me see how you do that. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I didn't see.
Let me see how you do that. Let me see how you managed to do that without causing any problems with encapsulation and any problems with the compiler, not complaining. All right, so that would be great. And then we have over here, the next thing it will be what I did before, which it was overloading the constructor, right? So we can actually, so part 4A, put it over here. Number 4A is using the overloaded constructor. That will give you an answer. Can you agree, Bobby, at the last hour? And I needed to explain how you did that, right? Especially talking about the fact that you have an overloaded constructor and how you can overload a constructor. Part B, we have that, we go back to the original thing that was before, in which the constructor, we're using the regular constructor, right? Using the original constructor as the one that has no arguments, right? It says, how do you place Bobby at the bottom left corner? So that would be the actual part that you have to work on. How do you place at the bottom left corner? And once again, I'm going to put this right in here. And actually, I'm going to use the other comments because I think they're darker. You cannot what's that word that I'm looking for? You cannot forget the concept of encapsulation. Let me put this over here. Encapsulation. And you cannot make the compiler angry. Angry, meaning it just doesn't compile. Compilation error. There you go. Okay, so once again, this is an assignment in which is participation, classwork. That means that you have to ask, you can ask questions, but at the same time, it's a form of assessment. So make sure you ask the right questions. And when I said the right questions, you should have listened, watched the videos, taking notes, process that information, apply it on the assignments that you already have worked on, and then ask me educated questions. Don't ask me questions that they're answered in the videos, right? So when you come to me for asking me questions, which I do want you to ask me questions, you have to already know concepts and the right language behind it, including what an attribute is, what an instance field is, what are the methods, what are the members of a class, what's encapsulation in terms of what you can do, what you cannot do. Do I have to bring back that example of the refrigerator when a friend comes over and is thirsty? All right, so that's it. You only have a limited amount of time to do this because it is partly an assessment, and the hard due date does not apply. It's something that you have to do right away. So if you're behind a different assignment, you can put it in the back burner and concentrate on these two assignments. The first part, which was the person mod right here. And the second part, which is the driver class. Yes, the driver class. And again, you can ask questions, but it has to be done properly, meaning You have to be convinced that the answer that you get, either from somebody else or myself, makes sense to you, is convincing, and it respects all those concepts and the language that we learn. That's it for now.